So then what do we say, right? We've talked about some of the things that we should avoid. So what are some of the different things that we should say within these harder conversations? So ultimately, whatever we're saying is to normalize and validate. So the idea of normalizing is to show somebody that they're not alone, right? To help them understand that it's okay, it's normal that they're feeling this way, especially again within that world of trauma. We talk about having normal reactions to abnormal events. So when people are, having a hard time where they're like, I don't know why I'm thinking this way, I don't know why I'm feeling this way, and just being like, yeah, like that's okay. Like, given what you've been through, like that's a normal thing to be experiencing. So really normalizing is helping people realize that they're not alone, and it doesn't mean that they're a bad person or there's something necessarily wrong with them. Yeah, and just trying to make it seem more of a normal and okay thing. And validation is such an important skill when we're talking to different people about what they're going through. And really the goal of validation is more to show them that you understand that their experience is real and true to them. And validation can be a more challenging one when you have a totally different interpretation of the scenario, but you can still understand that to them, what they're experiencing, what they're feeling, what they're going through is very real to them. And that is so important for people to have that understanding that you get that this is true for them. So some of these potential statements, some examples again, are given the situation, it's normal to be feeling this way. So like I was saying, that normal reaction to an abnormal event. And even just some of the validating statements like, that sounds really difficult. Or even like, if you're at a loss for when people are talking about hard stuff, like that really sucks. Like for a lot of us, I know, when I'm complaining or having a hard time or need to talk to somebody, sometimes just the like validation of just like, yeah, that does suck. Yeah, that is hard, can be so helpful for just to know that somebody else sees what's going on for you and accepts it as real. So sometimes even those simpler statements, we can start to kind of get the idea of like what's helpful, how people have been coping by asking questions like, with everything that's going on, how do you think you've been managing, right? Like, wow, you've got so much going on right now. Like, how do you think you're staying on top of things? Or how do you think you're still managing to get the kids to school? Or even, how do you think you're still able to get out of bed? Right? Like starting to just, again, kind of validating like, wow, this is so hard. And yet like, here you are and you're still going. Like, how are we able to do that? And then lastly, just asking, is there anything I can do to be helpful? Instead of me inserting myself and saying, oh, I should do this for you, I can do this for you, or, you should be doing this, or any of the shoulds really. We want to be asking, what would be helpful for you? So if you're ever at a loss within these conversations where somebody's explained something really hard to you and you're trying to figure out, what do I do from here? Just asking, is there anything I can do to be helpful? And sometimes it's no, or, yeah, just listen to me sometimes, or sometimes I need to vent, or maybe I need a hug, right? Like there can be those simpler things. So it's really good to ask how we can be helpful. So then really we're trying to figure out, where do we kind of go from here? So again, our goal is to let people know of potential support options. So we're just making people aware that there are options out there for them, so that they're not alone, so that they don't have to deal with these things on their own. Again, we're not telling people, oh, like, you have to go here, like you should go to CMHA, you have to go here. Because again, we want people to feel empowered, to feel in control. I mean, it's pretty basic psychology that people are more apt to do something if it feels like something that they've chosen for themselves, rather than, being told, oh, you have to go here, you have to do this. So again, this isn't within a crisis situation, this is, you know, we're talking to somebody about their mental health, we see them struggling, and we just want to let them know that there are some different support options out there. So yes, some of the things that we can say to people is there's supports out there. Would you like to know more, right? And if people say, no, like I don't really, I'm not interested in that right now, then letting them know, okay, well, I'm here if you change your mind, or, you know, I'm always willing to look stuff up with you or figure out where we should go together, or I'm always here to talk to you about the different resources that are available, to leave it open-ended rather than getting into an argument about it. We might even ask them, has anything helped in the past? Maybe they've already gone through something similar before. Maybe they know for themselves, like, oh yeah, like, you know what, I have talked to a counselor before and that was really helpful. Maybe I should reach out to them again. Or, you know, I tried this before and it really wasn't helpful, but maybe we can try something else. So really asking, like, is there anything that's helped in the past? Because they might already have supports out there that they have kind of forgotten about, or unfortunately, when our brain is on emotional overload, it doesn't always think super logically, just the way that it's designed. So asking these questions to help people kind of reflect on, oh yeah, like I do have these supports and I have talked to people before. So that again, it's more based on what they deem to be helpful and their choices. And then you can ask, like, if you do know about a really great support, or you feel like, you know, it would be really helpful if they went and talked to their doctor, you can say, like, have you thought about going to your doctor? Or have you thought about making a sooner appointment to see somebody? So again, it's more based on their decision and their control whether or not they do that and go ahead and access those supports. And really, when we talk about where somebody can go, there are both professional and personal supports. So depending on what's going on for the person, depending on their preferences and what's helpful for them, maybe they lean more on professional supports, maybe they lean more on personal supports, maybe it's both. So some different examples of things that we could let people know about is like contacting their family doctor. I know it's an issue here in Oxford County, even having access to a family doctor, but maybe they do have one and maybe they are a resource that has been helpful in the past. So they could potentially reach out there. And then there's also our reach out line. So the number is there on the screen. And they also have the reachout247.ca, which has the web chat aspect as well. You absolutely do not need to be in crisis to call reach out. It is helpful for, you know, if you are and you need to talk to somebody right away, even at like 2 a.m. But if you're like, I don't know where to go from here, I don't know who to talk to, or even I don't know like how to get my friend the help that they need, call, reach out, talk to a mental health and addictions professional. It's a line that has access to our clinicians in Oxford, Elgin, and Middlesex, so that you know where to direct people, or even that person is able to call and access supports themselves. We do have the walk-in counseling throughout Oxford County. We've had it for actually quite many years now, probably 5 or so, I would guess. But we started doing walk-in counseling as a way for people to have access to counseling supports without being on a wait list. So it's a really helpful resource. They have kind of changed the name a little bit to talk-in counseling, just based on the fact that, unfortunately, with COVID days, we just have to make sure that it is a pre-booked appointment. We can't just have people walk in anymore because, you know, we don't have waiting rooms open and things like that. So we want to make sure that people are more booked in, but still people are able to call and have appointments with counselors, you know, within the week, maybe 2 weeks, and then you're able to talk to somebody much more rapidly. They might have other supports like a pastor, right? So, I mean, obviously, if it's somebody who doesn't belong to a church and isn't based in faith, then telling them to go see your pastor might not be super helpful, but maybe they have a pastor that they're really connected to and they have someone like that who they can talk to and work with. So that can be a really helpful support. reaching out to family and friends. Maybe they have, a brother, sister, parent, or someone else who's really helpful that they can be talking to as well. There's peer support groups. There's also peer leaders through CMHA. We have an awesome peer program. So if anybody is ever saying to you, I just want to talk to somebody who's gone through this, or I want to know that, they've seen hard times and, they've gotten through stuff as well, that's when peer support can be really helpful. And maybe they have a current or past support worker. So whether that's a CMHA case manager or through another one of the many agencies that we have here in Oxford County, they might already be connected to somebody and they might just not be reaching out as often as they should, or, maybe they, just aren't connecting with them for whatever reason, or maybe it's a former worker that, again, with that reminder is like, oh yeah, like I did talk to Christine for a while and that was helpful. I could call her up again and see what's going on. So really there's lots of different options. Part of why we talk about all the different options for potential supports is also so that you don't feel like you're the only person involved as the helper. So as I was saying, when we talked about the approach, just because you're the person having this hard conversation does not mean that it all needs to be on you, because no one individual can be somebody's only support person. So really make sure that we're kind of gathering as many other potential supports. Of course, the person has to want to, have those supports involved as well. But really our goal is to have a support team and not just you.